I often talk about people being awful, terrible, strange, whatever. But today we're going to turn it up to 11 and meet a few people who are truly delusional. Folks who do not live in the same reality as the rest of us. Generally speaking, I steer clear of politics. However, we're all aware that a few days ago there was a failed assassination attempt on former US President Donald Trump. Now, three things. Firstly, I'm not a huge fan of Mr. Trump. I have nothing against the Republican Party, but he rubs me up the wrong way. Secondly, and more importantly, as a Brit, I'm fully aware that my opinion on US politics does not count for shit. And thirdly, just because I don't agree with someone's point of view, I don't think that warrants putting a bullet through their skull. Call me a lefty liberal. However, I am a huge rock and metal fan, and I'm a fan of, or rather I'm bordering on, I used to be a fan of, the parody rock duo Tenacious D. But a day or two ago, on what was the current leg of their world tour in Australia, it was Kyle Gass's birthday, and the Rage Cage made a spectacularly bad joke.
Don't miss Trump next time. Thank you.
It's a joke, but it's in very poor taste. And now Kyle Gass has been dropped by his agent, and the fate of Tenacious D hangs in the balance. Although, if we're honest, for over 20 years, the D has consisted of Jack Black and Kyle Gass. Even though, personally, I think Kyle is the better musician. But that was a bad joke. Let's see someone who's seeing the same situation from a different fucking planet.
We are out here on the heels of the attempted Trump assassination. Can I get your reaction to what happened the other day?
Well, it's a shame the person missed. I am scared about political violence.
You're scared of political violence, but you were hoping that he wouldn't have missed.
Yes.
Many people are thankful that the shooter missed and could have led to a lot of conflict in the country.
Regardless if Trump is in power or not, he has a lot of influence, and that makes him a very dangerous person, and nothing will stop. And we want to live.
So if all that holds true, do you want to see others try what this young man tried at this Trump rally?
I don't know if it would do any good.
Okay, interesting, yeah. I see you have a crossbow over here. Can you tell me a little bit more about it and why you decided to bring it here? You have I don't know what it is. It looks like a crossbow.
Yeah, it's a pistol crossbow. I don't like firearms. This is a much safer alternative, and it's used only for personal defense as an absolute last resort.
Wow. Why did you feel compelled to bring it here? Do you feel unsafe?
Very much so. I'm absolutely terrified.
I'll try and keep this light. It's amazing the way things have gone full circle, because if you recall, 4 years ago, during the pandemic, it was the people refusing to cover their faces who were the arseholes. Remember them? The alumni of the University of YouTube? The people who thought that going into a supermarket and having to put a piece of cotton over their face for 5 minutes eroded their civil liberties, that they were living in a dictatorship. Now it's the people who wear the face coverings all the time that are the fucking problem. So that woman appears to be upset because a political candidate wasn't murdered, and then says that she fears political violence, with no sense of irony. And even though Donald Trump isn't the president, he still wields a lot of influence, which she seems to think justifies having him assassinated lest he come back to power. Having your adversaries murdered, that is extremely Stalin-esque, and I will guarantee that woman describes herself as a communist. It never ceases to amaze me that the far left never realise that they are exactly the same as the far right. They're different sides of the same coin. They're as fucking bad as each other. But the standout thing for me that proves just how mad that woman is the crossbow she's carrying. She's against firearms, but she's carrying a pistol bow. that is still a projectile weapon, and although a handgun or a rifle has vastly superior range, if you pierce someone's cranium with a crossbow bolt, they'll be just as dead as if you did it with a bullet. This is not advanced science. And I read a conspiracy theory on this story this morning, which I won't stay on for long because it isn't worth the effort, but it does fit in with the title of the video. It is fucking delusional. A tinfoiler is alleging that the reason there was an attempted assassination attempt on Donald Trump was the same reason that JFK was assassinated, and that in both cases the gunmen were patsies. Now, we've all seen the footage of Lee Harvey Oswald being gunned down by Jack Ruby, but the conspiracy theory states this: it's the same gunman, and the assassin is a time-travelling alien protecting the secrets that both Kennedy and Trump would reveal about Area 51. And some people think conspiracy theorists are weirdos who live in their mother's basements with too much time on their hands. On to our next delusional person. One of my least favourite people on the entire internet, the grinning enigma that is Jeffrey Marsh.
Is J.K. Rowling part of a global hate group? The United Nations said yes. UN Women released a statement. This is the council at the United Nations that looks at women's rights globally. They announced a statement saying the gender critical movement, which is what they call themselves, aka the TERFs, are part of a global movement to undermine women's rights. TERFs hold a hierarchy in their mind of which women are better than other women. And like my eyes were like boing, 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 at this part of the statement. TERFs are involved in these interesting hobbies in addition to undermining feminism around the world. Here's your definitive answer. Every time somebody is like, J.K. Rowling she's not really transphobic, is she? Send them over to the United Nations. Thanks for fighting, and thank you for being part of our movement of peace and love and kindness. Bye.
Whenever I see a clip of Jeffrey, I feel the need to sit in a bathtub full of bleach and scrub myself down with a wire brush. For anyone unfamiliar with Mr. Marsh, he is trans, although it's not clear what he's transitioning to. In my opinion, he comes across as a rather creepy guy who enjoys wearing women's clothing and makeup. He also makes TikToks encouraging young children to break off all contact with their families so that he can take care of them. Nonce! And like most members of the TQ cult, and I'll explain that, when I say the TQ cult, the vast majority of trans, queer and non-binary people are just trying to live their lives. And if that's you, I wish you the very best. But the TQ cult are the hardliners. The people who demand we alter our view of reality so as we don't hurt their feelings. So Jeff, as in my opinion a member of the TQ cult, absolutely despises the author of the Harry Potter books. But what makes this delusional is that all the rhetoric about this global hate group at no point mentions J.K. Rowling by name. In fact, if we look at the list of the people being hunted down by the TERFs, if you look carefully, these are groups of people represented by women's rights activists, of which J.K. Rowling is one of the most famous in the world. So if Jeffrey is saying that because someone has certain viewpoints and characteristics, they are automatically made part of a certain group, then Mr. Marsh, that is a fucking slippery slope. Because there's one demographic within society who have a disproportionately unhealthy interest in young children. These would be the type of people who would set up a Patreon, inviting very young kids to talk privately behind their parents' backs. Which is something that Jeffrey Marsh did. Let's move on to another delusional type.
Good morning. You know, the more I talk to fellow trans women, the more we realize that all of the cis men that we thought would be the primary point of fear in our lives actually are a much lesser enemy than white cis women have become. I have never been so afraid of fellow women in my life, because the rate at which white cis women spread misinformation about trans femme people is appalling and unconscionable.
Like I said, most trans people are just trying to live their lives, but the TQ cult, they're different. Now, he only criticises cis white women because he's white himself. And if you're this colour, them's the rules. You can't criticise anyone with darker skin than you, otherwise you're a far-right racist. But why are women more hostile than men? Well, let's be blunt here, because trans women, whatever they are, they don't have that much impact on men like myself. If that chap, Priscilla Queen of the Desert, or Norman Bates dressed as his mother, walks into a male changing room, the reaction will be, right, fuck's sake, Chief, calm it down. Whereas, if the same gentleman goes into a women's changing room and says, hello girls, hello women, don't worry, I'm a woman too. Have a look at my girl dick. And if it offends you, you're a turf and a bigot. And he talks about them spreading misinformation. What sort of misinformation? The sort of misinformation that men can have periods, that women have penises, that DNA males have no advantage over females in sports? Because, sorry, Chief, that's coming from your camp. There's one clip left to go. This isn't someone who's delusional. I just say it's poorly judged.
Can be a slut if you have herpes.
You can totally still be a slut. I've gotten sluttier since getting herpes.
Mm-hmm.
That woman has gone on record saying that she has herpes and she's still shagging round. Now, judging by her accent, I'm guessing she's from the New World, and in the Americas, they have a culture of suing. So I'm guessing if she hooks up with a man or a woman, whatever, and they contract herpes from her, and she hasn't told them she's already carrying, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Also, earlier I mentioned 2020. I think this woman gives us a new definition of super spreader. Both STDs and her legs. That's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as ever, thanks for watching. However, I consider myself a rock and metal fan. Just walked round the pothole. However, I consider myself a rock and metal fan, and I am a fan of the parody rock... Oh, I've fucked it up. I'll try and keep this light. Dixie Horns, the Dukes of Hazzard are here. A quick aside, as a kid, my favourite TV show was The Dukes of Hazzard. And I've been rewatching it, and it's not as good as I remember as a child. It's a little ridiculous, if I'm honest, where the Duke boys, Bo and Luke, are tailing someone in a bright orange Dodge Charger with the doors welded shut and a Confederate flag on the roof. Hazzard County is the only place on Earth where every hedgerow has a ramp built into it. But the thing for me is she's carrying a crossbow. Sorry. I'll keep this going. She's carrying a crossbow. Now, for my friends watching over in the USA, I know that some states have open carry policies. How does a crossbow work? Does that count as personal effects? Whereas, if that gentleman... Oh, good, the wind's up now. And now it's stopped. You bastard. As if that gentleman walked into a women's changing room and said, don't worry, girls, oh, fuck that up.